Back at it again. Before I get started on this video, I just want to let you guys know that I really appreciate all the support, and I really hope that these videos are helping you guys, and it seems like it is. So much appreciation to all of you, and I mean that. For some of us, we have had an encounter with the incubus spirit from a very young age, and that is very damaging. Okay. And it's just like, it's crazy. You start to develop a certain perspective that it's kind of like you're being molded in a certain way. These SA predators, man, they will try to convince you, they will groom you into thinking that you're not a victim. They literally train you to not see yourself as a victim. One thing's for sure is that what you're gonna find out is that the incubus spirit, they don't give up. They're very obsessive. These are the obsessive kind of men, very obsessive, possessive, crazy like that, and when they see you, they think you belong to them. They think that you're their property, and they have to have you. You're like their favorite accessory. These people are weird. I'm telling you, they're weird. They have a level of, and I'm saying wickedness because, like, we were little girls when we went through what we went through, man. We were little girls being exposed to certain things that we had no idea what it was. Combined with other traumas that, we're not going to get into too much of that, but from a young age, because we've been exposed to this from a young age, I had this spirit in me that was very militant, disciplined, and I had this determination to not be broken. And because of that, that caused a lot of spiritual exhaustion. It's very tiring to be so strong in the world like this, so you should give yourself some credit. But even then, man, we need to take a rest, and we just don't know how to, because it's not like we really had a chance to, right? Every time we lay our burdens down, there's always some nut just waiting to take advantage of our vulnerabilities. That's what the covert narcissist is always awaiting, acting like a friend, acting like a lover that you always wanted, Yeah. That's why we have trust issues, because the devil knows who to place, at what time, at what moment, at what place, and what do we need, what do we want, Everything you could ever want, he gives it to you. That's why you can't trust Diablo, man. If it smells like Diablo, it might just be, you look like you were sent by Diablo. I don't know what it is, but I could just feel it. See, now you got to start to use your empathy powers. You have to use your empathy, your ability to read energy. You use your spiritual sensitivity to see this, because, see, that's the thing. But I'm going to get into that part, actually, because here's another thing. Diablo sends people, man. All right. Of course, from your early years, I mean, these were your handlers that you've had encounters with. But as you get older, Diablo still sends people to you, right? And if you're not aware, you can get lost, and especially if you're a woman with spiritual gifts. Yes, you're highly spiritual, intuitive, intellectual. You're going to encounter this thing because they see you as someone that's hard to get, because, I mean, for the most part, we don't make it easy for obvious reasons. Some of the stuff we've been through, like, man, like, half the time you don't even want to deal with people, because it's like, nah, I'm good. I think I'm going to sit this one out, but they know how to. This is where it forces them to work harder to really find a vulnerability that they can come right in and see what kind of wounds do you have, right? And a lot of times they just want to get laid, but it's deeper than that. On a spiritual level, it's deeper than that. Now, they may not be consciously aware of what they're doing because, like I said, most people, they're very carnal minded. They just want to, like I said, they just want to get laid, and they just see that you're someone that is different from everyone else. You know, you seem like a very interesting person. You have a certain personality about you. You have a lot of light. And especially when you're a woman that has a lot of light and beauty, youthfulness, yeah, you're going to draw attention to yourself. I mean, it's going to happen. And so if they realize you're not easy to get, they're going to work hard to try to get you, you know, and it could either be they just want, they just want to get laid, or they might want to possess you. That's another thing too. They want to possess you. They want to capture you or conquer you, and not love you though. Anything but love, right? There's no love in the equation when it comes to the incubus spirit. I'm talking about the incubus spirit, and you're going to attract a lot of them. That's why throughout your life, you might feel like, why do I keep encountering a similar kind of man? You know, and that's where the enemy wants us to fall into that conclusion of, oh, all these men are the same. And see, don't we say that a lot of times? You know, oh, all these men are the same. That's not true. There's a difference between guidance, leadership, and controlling behavior that leads to abusive, things happening. There's a huge difference. No, you never sleep with the enemy. No, see, the enemy wants, this is why the enemy is so quick to want intimacy, just like that fast, because that's the fastest way to really, I guess you could say, to neutralize you, to slow down your power. That's how they do it, right? And the reason why you have to watch out for that is because, well, for some of us ladies, some of us grew up in an environment that was kind of rough. So when you're in that kind of environment, I mean, do you really think that you're going to be the type of woman that's going to be so quick to fall in love with a man? Oh, I'm so in love. Like, no. That's why falling in love, it feels like we're dying, because it's almost like falling in love is like the closest thing to death. Because in some cases, it actually usually does lead up to a slow death. Just pure misery, right? Because that's what you've seen. That's what you've been exposed to. Right? And then you combine that with all your other traumas. It's like, man, what kind of world is this? What kind of world is this? And then it seems like every single guy that, not all of them, but it just seems like a lot of guys that have shown you interest, they just want to possess you. They want to tie you up. And that's it. You're not allowed to, there's like, they don't care what you feel, what you think. It's all about them. Tell me that's not a narcissistic handler, all right? And then they'll try to make it look so nice, use a nice red silk ribbon, and then next thing you know, you're losing your energy, you're losing your mind. You don't know how the hell did you get to this predicament, because this person became your drug. They knew how to do it. See, that's, instead of you being on drugs, with the substance, now you're going to be addicted to the abuser himself, which I don't even know which one is more damaging, because they're both damaging. They're both, they're both playing with your neurological wiring, They both play on that, and it changes the way that you perceive your reality, basically. You get to a point where you feel like you need them. You feel like you need them to live, just like a drug. Now, tell me how that's very damaging. All right. Imagine you become addicted to your narcissistic abuser, just like a drug. It's very damaging. You're addicted to something that is contributing to your self-destruction. And that's what that is. And it's mainly controlled by lust. The lust, right? The addiction to that, and where does this come from? Well, once upon a time, I'm going to explain to you, because I could see, this is speaking from foresight, from the ability to foresee these things. And that is why now for some of us, sometimes we learn from our mistakes, but in some cases, sometimes we learn from foresight and sensing energy, and that's the beauty of these spiritual gifts. And that is why a lot of these handlers, they want to dim our light and they want to get rid of our spiritual gifts, because our spiritual gifts is what allows us to have this foresight to see. You damn near could see into the future when it comes to a person. You get what I mean? You start to get the downloads, the all that stuff, and you're just like, you can just tell, everything stands out to you, like the red flags and stuff. It just pops out, and you're just like, oh, I know what this is, and and then you move accordingly. But see, they don't like that, and that's the reason why they try to break us down so much, and that's why they from the very beginning, they implanted that curse mark of SA, which is basically just them exposing you to that, and which really traumatizes you, and it really messes with your brain to such a way that as you get older, you're not supposed to awaken like this. All right. A lot of us, we were not supposed to spiritually awaken to our gifts in the way that we did. But God allowed it to be activated for a reason, to protect us, to protect ourselves. And that to me is the greatest form of love. That's a lot of love right there. And I appreciate that. I was aware of this thing. That's why I felt like, man, I thought my life was going to go downhill, to be honest. I won't lie to you. Right? But again, that's why they want to get rid of our gifts, because our gifts is what protects us, and that comes with having a high vibration. And that's why they try to bring us low, and that's that lust. And then how do they activate lust? Well, they would have to break down our discipline. Once they can get you hooked, all of a sudden it's almost like you just lost your intuition. You basically lost your sense. You don't have sense no more. Because now, like I said, now they have neutralized you. So it's not the act of intimacy that's bad. It's who you're intimate with. That is key. What kind of spirit does this person carry? Pay attention to that. Because, we live in a times where people they just do whatever. No, when you're a spiritually gifted person, you have got to be extremely careful of who you're laying with. Because a lot of times this person, man, they kind of have an idea like you're a different kind of person. You're a different breed, they can just feel it, and they want a piece of that. Now, of course, they might just be attracted to you, just on the outer appearance, but it goes deeper than that. And when you are someone that is hard to get, which a lot of us are, because we understand our value and we've learned our lessons from the times that we didn't, then they already know that. And so it's like, they look at it as a challenge, and they really, really, it's like the more you resist them, the more you avoid them, the more it arouses them. Okay. And they just feel like, especially narcissistic people, they have this thing where it's like, and they look at it as a challenge. And I don't know if it's just narcissism or it's just male nature. I don't know. It's just their thing of wanting to conquer. The more difficult it is, the more it fuels their masculine energy, because now they're like, oh, I gotta really try hard now. It's crazy. I don't know. That's just how they are. I don't know. It's a conquer thing. It's a power thing, power and control. But no, seriously. What they want to do is they want to get you hooked on them. Just like how they want to become your drug, because that's how, again, what do drugs do to people? It controls them, right? That substance controls the mind. Okay. So a controlling person would want to place themselves in a position where, they have control over you. And so the best way they can do that is to become your drug. And the incubus spirit that is inside this person, It's not a coincidence that they know you very well. You know, think about the first conversation you had with them. How the hell did you know that much about me? Crazy, right? They did some research on you, or did they do a reading on you? It's almost like the familiar spirits were telling them everything about you. Everything about you. Like, yeah, like they just have the whole script ready to say the right things and to do the right things. And like I said, it's trippy. Because I can think of it right now. There's some moments I could think of where I'm like, how the hell, how do you know all this? You know, what made you want to have this? What made you want to start this conversation about that in particular? It's so crazy. It's almost like they know about. It's almost like they know how you grew up. It's like they just know how you grew up, what you've been through, and then they just start talking about it. It's like, and you never told them anything. They don't know your social media. They don't know if you're a content creator. They don't know that you're a content. So it's crazy. It's overall crazy. You can foresee it. I'm telling you, it goes back to that foresight. And I was getting ready to tell you about that. They don't want us to see into, have that premonition. Like, I got a feeling this person wants to turn me into an addict. What kind of addict are we talking? It doesn't always have to be drugs. Intimacy, that's a powerful drug. And they can get you addicted to that if you have a mother or father wound, and they know that once they give you everything that you never got growing up, they have total control of you. Right, here's the thing about the enemy is that the enemy will give you whatever you want. That's what you got to understand. He's not going to come attacking you immediately. He only attacks you when he can't control you or when you run away from him. Yeah, but if you submit to the enemy, you're right where he wants you to be. And they know how to manipulate you. They know how to control your mind. They know how to change your perception of the surroundings. They know how to change your perception of reality. And that is by normalizing the toxicity that is around you. By normalizing this exploitation, by painting it as, well, it's not really exploitation if I make you feel good. And that's the thing. They run with that feel good thing, your carnal desires. But do you really feel good though? Because you don't have your essence. You lost your soul in the process, because now whether it's the drugs that you're addicted to, or maybe he's the drug, right? So if you're dealing with a narcissistic, abusive person, more than likely they become your drug and you become addicted to them, and now they can control how you feel about yourself. And then once they have you locked in, that's when they start becoming unfaithful. That's when they start treating you any kind of way. All that shit that from the love bombing, that shit is over with. All that stuff that they make you fall in love with them in the beginning, that's love bombing. After that, you're not going to see that again, because that's not really what he feels. That's not him. Right? He plays that role to get you, basically to capture you. And you're just a captive to him, and you're just there to serve him, and that's it. There's nothing else there. And then you'll get a little bit of crumbs, and that's about it. And you know how dangerous it is to be addicted to someone that only wants to give you breadcrumbs? That is painful. And now after that, it's just going to be pure emotional pain that will never stop. After having the foresight to see that this is the type of shit that this person has in store for you, tell me if you still want to continue on with that person. Of course not. But this level of foresight, imagine. And some people might think that I'm crazy. I really don't care, man. And that goes with understanding your value and the kind of woman that you are. Because if a man who's wounded but also controlling, with controlling tendencies. And he sees you, a spiritually gifted woman, and you're attractive and everything. Yeah, they're gonna want to possess you, and you might, if you're not careful, you might get flattered and, oh, he's really into me. Yeah, be careful with that. Seriously, be careful with that. Because a lot of times, these type of men, they want your healing presence, but it's like they just want to they want to drain you. Okay, be careful. So you have to make sure that, again, any man that comes into your life, I'm not saying be paranoid. No, okay. You have to really, really make sure that that man is actually ordained to be with you. When you're a person like that, when you're a person that is anointed, chosen, you have to basically move like you're royalty. Meaning you don't just marry anybody. Even if you like them, just because you like someone doesn't mean that you marry them necessarily. Because liking somebody, being infatuated, is not love. Okay, because you can like someone and it can fade away, right? True love, that true thing, a covenant, a real covenant, it has to do with building with someone, and that person has to have a common goal. You guys have to be in one accord. You have to be in proper alignment with the Most High. Both of you guys have to be on that. Both of you guys have to be spiritually gifted at the same time. You guys have to have a lot of things, and that really bring you together. It's more than just, oh, I like you. No, it's a lot of things that have to come into play before you even think about being married to a man, and really, but you only get with a man that you're ordained to be with. And that's why you have to really, that comes with having a prayer life, so that you can make sure that you end up with a man that's actually right for you, that will treat you right, that is a righteous leader, and not a pimp that's just trying to exploit you and your wounds and just weaken you. Let me tell you this. You notice that when it comes to the toxic man, you'll notice that they want to weaken you. Their form of submitting, right? Their version of submitting to them has to do with weakening you, making you codependent on them, making you addicted to them, and stuff like that. That's what the toxic man. The difference with a righteous man, huge difference, and I'm gonna tell you this right now so that you can really imprint this in your mind. With a righteous man, when you submit to a righteous man, he actually wants you to be stronger and better. You notice that when you submit to a righteous man, he comes with righteous leadership, which all it's gonna do is build you up. That's what he wants. He doesn't want to weaken you, because by weakening you, he's weakening his own kingdom, right? But that's because the righteous man is thinking about kingdom building, which means that everything that he touches is going to grow and prosper, including you, right? And so, yeah, that's why I said submitting to a righteous man is a good thing. That's how you grow together. And he's not threatened by your talents, your gifts, and all that stuff. As long as you maintain mutual respect and reciprocity, it's a beautiful union where a lot of things can be accomplished. That's kingdom spouse right there. Yes. And that's why I said you have to make sure that you are with the right man. Make sure that man is ordained to be with you, and vice versa, right? Now, a toxic man, the reason why a lot of women don't want to submit to a man is because we've been around toxic men. And when you submit to a toxic man, you will be broken down into pieces, because the toxic man, their goal is not to build, it's to destroy. They give you a false illusion. They give you a false sense of building when they love bomb you. You see the love bombing stage, it gives you the illusion of, oh, they're building you up. No, they do that just to tear you down. That's the whole point, right? Because they need something to tear down, and then the longer you stay with them, of course, they're going to give you little crumbs of fake love because they got to build you up again, but really because they have to break you down. They need something to break down. And they're going to continue with that narcissistic abuse cycle until you can't take it anymore and you're done. They won't stop until it's over, all over, and you're no longer yourself, you know? And we don't want that. So like I said, I had to make sure that I illustrate those differences so that, you know, you can see exactly what it really means, you know, so that you can tell the difference, because it's very different, actually. And you could say, well, there's not a lot of good men. You're right, it's not. But they don't necessarily, it's not that they don't exist. They're not very easy to come by, but they're out there. And yeah, so again, I've said enough here. You know, this is pretty long, so I really appreciate you guys for listening. Much love to all of you. Until next time.